Loha o vau o Teani Beverly Marquez no Mauna Lua Maia. Hi, I'm Teani Beverly Marquez, and I'm from Mauna Lua, but today is known as Hawaii Kai. Mauna Lua is the sacred name of Hawaii Kai. It houses the 523-acre fish pond called Keolahou o Mauna Lua. This is the first place that was basically colonized, and it has now rich houses and foreigners that come in. My project is reviving a really sacred fishing shrine in Mauna Lua, because back in the day there was 3 fishing shrines known as Ku, Hina, and Polialaia, but they were taken down due to desecration by Henry J. Kaiser. For my senior project, I am reviving a new fishing shrine called Keolahou o Mauna Lua. I would like to bring back old Hawaiian tradition, especially to Mauna Lua, since no one really knows the sacred value and history of Mauna Lua today. And behind me is the area that I'll be constructing on Saturday. So this is way before the construction. And welcome to my site, Keolahou o Mauna Lua and Keolahou, the new life. Mahalo.
What a moment in time to recreate a cultural contribution to the community of Mauna Lua. We do know that Mauna Lua runs vast from Kawaihoa Point to Ku Piki Piki O, Diamond Head area. So you are bringing these 2 areas together, and I mahalo you for building this ahu.
I didn't realize that I would be choosing an ahu to build in Mauna Lua. It all started when my sister was actually researching about Mauna Lua, and she went into depth, and she was talking to Uncle Chris about like the ko'a, and they were going over all the ahus and stuff. And I kind of got an idea to build an Ahu Koʻa.
You know, before anything gets restored, physically, spiritually, and mentally, there were ahu here, Ahu Koʻa, and there were 3, Polialaia, Ku, and Hina, all along this stretch of coast for the Naiholo, the mullet run. And back then, our konohiki, Joe Lukela, he would pull all these fish back in. So before that can even get settled, we gotta bring that spirituality back, our practices back, ahu back, because, you know, amongst talking with my sister and I, you know, we just feel like once you bring these ahu back, it gives an incentive of Kanaka to come back to these lands, pay honor and tribute to where they are, that they have the right to be here and to do these practices that you can't find in Mauna Lua that frequent.
At first, I wanted to reconstruct all 3 Ahu Koʻa that was destroyed, Hina, Ku, and Polialaia. But I realized it was a big project to take on, and I don't have enough time to reconstruct all 3. I actually built a new one, a new Ahu Koʻa that's going to honor all 3 in Kawaihoa called Keolahou. I went on to find locations and where to build the ahu, and we just stumbled upon Kawaihoa in this area, since it's my sister's namesake, and it's like the vai and like the freshwater spring. And so I thought it was a good idea to just honor Kawaihoa itself and build here in Mauna Lua, and it's facing the ocean and the bay and even Leahi or Diamond Head. And it also points to Kahiki actually, or Tahiti, where some say our people are from. This place specifically drew me in, and I just didn't want to leave.
This is an area famous in the past for the fresh water, and this was said to have been visited by 3 brothers, Kane, Kanaloa, and the brother Kaneapua. They were said to have come to this area, and Kaneapua was sent to bring the fresh water from the top of the hill And when he did that, he had the urge to relieve himself, and he polluted that fresh water. And when he came back, immediately his brothers knew what he had done. And so they say that he was left here and became displaced. And Kuamo'o Kane is the back of Kane. And so his spirit went back to Kahiki, and here he rests. When you look from a distance, you can see that you can see his back and his profile, but you can also see his arms stretched out, and he was said to have had a kanoa, or a stone bowl for ava. It was always thought to be lost, or no one knew what had happened to it. Mary Kavenapukui came to this area in the 1920s, and she said that she saw the bowl, and it was a stone bowl for ava. And also in the Hawaiian newspapers, they speak of that kanoa used for ava. And so we didn't know what had happened to it. When Teani did her project, all of a sudden, we were experiencing this place and looking around us, and then as we're talking, and this might be the kanoa of Kaneapua, with his arms stretched out, and he's holding that. And it does look like a bowl, a big stone bowl, when you're here, and there's nowhere else that I know of that would fit this description at this place. It's very interesting to think, wow, this might be it, the kanoa used for the ava of Kane and Kanaloa all those years ago.
Started collecting pohaku from Ka'iwi, where my granny was scattered. Ka'iwi was a big part of her life. She was a part of the Save Sandy Beach Coalition, and I wanted to honor my granny, Shirley Lum, by picking pohaku from her aina, and all of our aina actually. And I started with the big foundation pohaku, or the dark ones that you see, and then after that I went ahead with the main Ahu Koʻa, and I collected along the shore. We wanted to thank the aina and the pohaku for coming back with us. We didn't want to set any bad intention, so we oli mahalo'd after, or thanked the pohaku for being a part of our ahu, and we wanted to have any good positivity and intention with building this ahu. We wanted to do it the right way. It took about like a month to collect with me and my mom, and then eventually my sister and her hoa came back and helped me the last 3 days before we constructed. We went to the park over Palialaia where the middle ahu was constructed, and we got to pick limu to make the limu lei for our offering. And that was actually my ohana's offering, was the limu lei that you'll see. And it took about a good half an hour to collect, and they even went on to collect a little bit more after, when I had to go to Kula.
The papa, or the reef that she gathered the limu kala, the limu had died for probably the last 6 years, just disappeared, and it used to be covering that area. And then this year was the only time it's come back in the last 6 years. And when she went to gather at that place, it was just plentiful again. And to gather that, you have to get wet. You have to go in the ocean and cleanse. And that's what that is always used for cleansing and for ceremony. Because to gather the limu kala, you have to go in the rough water. It doesn't grow where it's nice and calm. You got to go in where you're gonna get all thoroughly, cleansed by the ocean.
Looking at all the pohaku at home, my mom was on the side making the lei, And you can see that it actually leaves some sort of dye too, which is interesting that I didn't know before. And so, yeah, you can use this limu to make dye and offering, especially to the Ahu Koʻa, and it's important that it's from our aina.
First and foremost, we couldn't have done this project without her foundation from Halau Kumana. That school has just been her pohaku since the 4th grade. And now that she's flying off from Halau Kumana and ending her project with this wonderful ahu here at Kawaihoa, it's just a full circle for me as a mother to have watched her growth and her kumu and administration that have always been there every step of the way.
Keolahou is doing her senior project, and she has decided to rebuild a kuahu or a Ahu Koʻa in this place to commemorate the 3 Ahu Koʻa that were damaged and illegally destructed. So I hope everything turns out. For those of you that get to be a part of this, it's memorable and something that's lifelong, lasting memories.
In the beginning of the day of the construction, I had everyone gather around in a circle first and debrief on the intention and how the day is going to look like. And I gave out these little pamphlets with each oli that we were going to do. And on top of that, my new oli that I actually wrote with my ohana, Keolahou. So we went ahead and did a little bit of ceremony and set the intention before going ahead and hali or passing the rocks and constructing so no one gets hurt and all just positivity around. Parents were a big support that day. I'm usually not like the type of person to take leadership in a lot of things. I like to follow and listen instead. So it was like a big step for me to lead people, especially on this like important day. My dad especially was like a big support. He passed the pohaku and we had manpower that day, which we needed. And of course my mom has always been a big support since like the beginning of the project and just like helping out, and I think her presence there just actually helped me to take the leadership role, and she really encouraged me.
It's funny because, when me and my mother do these things, it's kind of all we talk about at home. We'll just, keep rapping about it. But Paka, she took this and didn't want to talk about it, knew what needed to be done, took my paper and said, "Okay, let's let's bring it to life already. Like this, we're talking too much."
But I think with my sisters, my mom and dad's support there, it really helped me a lot. When I saw everyone starting to pass the rocks, I think it really relieved me because I didn't know how especially the hali was gonna go. I think that was my main concern. I was actually really happy to see like the process flowing and everyone looked really happy. And I was so glad. I think that was my favorite part because I got to see like a community in my aina for the first time. Usually in this area, it's a lot of tourists and like college kids and everyone's partying, and I've never seen it like have such a positive like energy around with everyone and like family and people coming together and helping out. That really, it made me happy that day. My main concern was the bend coming around with the hali line. I wasn't sure how that was gonna go since I think that's the most dangerous part because the ocean's right there and it's like crashing up all the time.
I don't know if you know the location where we were, but it was a little cuckoo. I mean, we had to like move rocks, put it down, move the line, move rocks, put it down, move the line, and then we came across this bend which has kind of like a blowhole effect. So we had to make sure the tides were okay and our elders were okay, whoever was coming. But we did it, and Teani did it, and oh my gosh.
I wasn't sure how that was gonna go, but actually it went really smoothly because by the time I got to that bend, everything was actually to the Ahu location already, and I was so surprised to see that. And the people that made it run smoothly was like the UH divers because they were ready to jump in if anything happened, which I'm glad. My two senior teachers, Kumu Kale and Kumu Christie, they came out and supported me. I'm really happy. And they got to see like my project in full effect instead of me just talking about it in class all the time. And I think it really helped for especially them to get a visual of my project. And my po'okula, my principal, was also at my event. And I was really happy to see her there because her main focus is always the students. And I'm really glad that she is a big support system, especially in my Ahu project. My main biggest supporter is my Kumu Consuelo. She was my first 4th grade teacher at Halo Kumana. And she's seen me grow for like 9 years. And I was really happy to see her there.
Aloha Kiele. Oh my goodness. Look at you, how you've grown since 4th grade. First 8-year student. And I'm so proud of you for doing this, for bringing honor to your ancestors, to this space, to Kawaihoa, to open it up again. You were here in a secluded place, but now your ohana is here. You know, when we did Oli earlier today, I could feel your grandma's presence. And this is where she wanted you to be. So, mahalo, mahalo, mahalo for bringing your ancestors here, for doing this work that you're doing. I love you. I can't wait to see what you're going to do in the future.
Just giving remembrance to the 3 ko'a that was already here, to what still remains. If you dab on those water droplets coming out, it's fresh water. That is the Kawaihoa here. And her decision making on where this Ahu should be hanaud, very ambitious, but it wouldn't be paka if it wasn't. Like that's her secret sauce, that one. That like she'll take, she's very much of a student of Kumu Imai Winchester. She will let's go. We got the crew. We're going, and it's just gonna be done because this is what we do, and this is who we are.
When we got to the construction part, we all took like a 15-minute break since I think the Holy line was probably the most difficult part. And the fun part was actually the constructing of the Ahu. Me and my classmates learned a lot of stacking, especially in our junior year, so I'm glad that we got to use our knowledge from school and really apply it to the Ahu. And I had a lot of help from my mentor, Uncle Chris Kramer, as well as other men that were here during this event. And I think it helped out a lot with the manpower part of it, since like the pohaku is tedious work and you have to make sure that it fits in the right places and really observe it and listen to where the pohaku wants to be placed. And I think it's a good learning experience, especially like with patience, because you have to have patience during this process and you have to really observe and use your senses of where things want to go. I was really glad that my design came out the way I wanted to, and yeah, it actually went by pretty quick. I thought that part was going to actually take much longer, but it actually went by really quick compared to having to get all the rocks to the location. Just seeing like all like my different people that are important to me like go ahead and contribute was just brought me happiness, and seeing it alive for the first time, the Ahu, it really is like kind of breathtaking and lots of process that was actually here. So my mentor, he saved a rock aside for me to put on for the last final touch. It was like this flat, nice pohaku that you'll see. And instead of putting it like on the wall, I actually put it on top of the platform instead to show the beauty. And to make like a little second platform to put extra like ho'okupu on top.
Writing is great, awareness is amazing and needed, but for something to hanao like this, she took that kuleana on at such a young age to do these things fishing our community back into this aina, fishing our kanaka from the west side. We had people coming from all ends of this island. She did a really amazing job at just making it happen. With Paka, she's a very, like my grandmother, like my granny. Something needs to be done, we're gonna do it. I'm not gonna talk about it, it's just gonna happen.
I think she combined a good amount of vision and action in all of this, because Keolahou is a super hard worker and she doesn't complain, she just puts her head down and works. And I think everyone saw that with the culmination of this project, and she knew exactly what she wanted it to look like. And if you see her sketch, Keolahou looks exactly how she envisioned it.
So during this winter, we all know that there's really bad rains and winds and like advisories during the winter in Hawaii. And because of this weather, this really bad weather, it actually kind of swept my Ahu away last week. I tried to visit the Ahu last week Wednesday, but it was super rough and we couldn't get around the bend, so we had to leave. But we came back on Sunday and we saw that most of the pohaku was kind of swept away, and we had to really dig up the sand to find all the rocks. And the sight, it kind of threw me off. Not gonna lie, I felt really defeated and devastated actually, and really disappointed that all the hard work kind of got swept away.
Teani came last week, and I know her first impression was, wow, what happened? You know, she was pretty upset to see after this big storm we had, and you know, everybody's work, it seemed like it had all been for nothing.
Part of the learning process with those torrential rains a few weeks ago, our Ahu was kind of swept away and rocks were all over, and it was a little disheartening for Teani.
You know, when we talked about it, and it was actually the opposite, and this is all part of when you know, it's not the physical structure, that's not the intention of the ko'a. It's really the gathering in of bringing in the fish, and that's what she did. And she brought in the you know, her ohana and the community. And
talking to Uncle Chris, I think it really eased my mind, and I actually saw that there was still a lot of pohaku left, and we could reconstruct it and just fix it. You know, as a caretaker, that's your responsibility. I was thinking of new ideas like, oh my gosh, do I have to build a new Ahu? Where's the new location going to be? Do I have to make a new event? And I was just stressing a lot.
In the long run, it's such a wonderful learning experience to know as a kia'i and as a protector that we don't have to go and find somewhere new. You just malama what we already started.
You know, it's much bigger than just a physical, because ko'a is right on the edge of the ocean, so it's always going to be, you know, it's going to be moved around, and it's not, it's always going to be like that. But so it's more the intention that she had is, and what she brought about, and that you cannot take away that. So
we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to keep on fixing Keolahou over here, and I don't want to leave this aina either, and I'm really connected to it now. And yeah, it's just my responsibility to keep on taking care of it. Even when there's more rains like this, you just keep on fixing and taking care, and that's my future responsibilities even after this project. He mau Ahu Koʻa kai ko maunulua e ola mau e ola mau e ola mau na ahu e hanau he Keolahou, Kawaihoa,